What's up, everybody? This is Marnick Vandebroek, and welcome to a new episode of the Stand Up Talk. And again, we have a very special guest in the building. Well, not really in the building, it's still COVID times. It's online, but he is here, and I'm talking about no one else than Niels Peetermans. How are you today?
I'm great, Marnick. Super excited to be here. So thanks for the invitation. Looking forward to having this talk with you, and I'm sure we'll deep dive in some interesting topics.
There you go. I'm already loving the background. I was doubting, like, am I professional? I just have like pictures of my family. I have a Christmas tree behind me, but look at you. You're totally on brand. So I already feel intimidated.
Yeah, it's just like we were experimenting a lot with streaming, and I think it's always nice to have a cool background. And the funny thing is, you actually mentioned the background, and that's an easy conversation starter if you're in a call and you're meeting someone new. But even if you're more like in a sales meeting or an investor call or whatever, it's an easy icebreaker to just have a cool background. And in the end, it's not that it costs that much money to put these things there, right? A skateboard, a plant, a jar,
True. I even have it here. Like I'm also on brand. Look at that. Kahlo.
Nice.
This episode is sponsored by Kahlo. It's not an advertising for Kahlo, but it's fun that we have the products. So if I'm too pumped, people, it's because I took one of these pills, right? So thank you for joining the stand-up talk. It looks great. You look pumped. So let's do this. I always do it with every interview I do before we really start, because you're like thinking, did we already start? No, this is just a prep. I ask some easy questions to just get warmed up and get the audience to know, like, who is Niels Peetermans? Because I'm impressed, but I can imagine that some people are at home like, I have no clue who this guy is. Never heard of him. And that's okay, but you should know Niels. Why? Because I'm not exaggerating. If I look at your LinkedIn, you started and expanded more companies than Elon Musk. You do more sports, athletics, biking. You're more ultra than Rich Roll, and you recently got engaged. You're the perfect son-in-law and the perfect entrepreneur. So if you don't know him yet, you're gonna know him in this episode. So let's start off with some easy questions. Linked to you. There's no right or wrong. There's just what you want. Lightning round. If you ever saw Friends, that's my generation. We grew up with Friends. Ross's lightning round. Here we go. So let's start off easy. You recently got engaged. So you're gonna get married next year or the year after. Would you go to City Hall because you're a cyclist? Do you go on a bike or do you go in a Lambo? What would you choose?
I think I would go on a bike
You go on a
because I actually already thought about this. I have I have a retro fixed gear bike. It has like these pink rims and like this apple blue color style frame. And also thought it would be a funny idea to gather a group of friends, like and best men and my best friends, that we all ride on these in our suits, of course, but then on these flashy single speed bikes to the city hall. So I'd prefer that one.
Nice. You really thought that through. And if it was a surprise for somebody, well, it isn't anymore. Okay, cool. If you would have breakfast, of course you have breakfast, but if you would have breakfast, would it be breakfast in Vegas on cocaine and gin, or a nice, calm English breakfast with Bill Gates?
I'd definitely take the one with Bill Gates, the nice calm breakfast with Bill
Why
Gates.
do they never take the cocaine and gin?
Because it's in the morning. Maybe if you ask what would be the dinner at night,
Yeah.
then the answers could be different.
That's the color way of life, That's the color. Just start off, have some Bill Gates, some morning breakfast, and then the night go crazy. Okay, I know you love League of Legends, which is
Mhm,
not really a shoot. It's not a shooter game, but
mhm.
you played GoldenEye back in the day. You know the shooters. So if you were be playing a shooter tournament, because we're going to talk about gaming in a second,
Mhm.
would you choose camping your way to victory, or do you prefer dying mid tournament but having like 12 kills?
Phew.
Oh,
Actually, I'm that guy who plays with the rocket launcher.
oh yeah.
So I have two shots because then you're out of ammunition with the rocket launcher.
Yeah.
So my goal is always to kill as many people as possible in one shot with rocket launcher. So I'm not the guy who will be waiting because I get bored too fast by waiting and camping somewhere. So I'm someone who runs towards the action. I think I go for dying sooner, but taking a lot of kills. I think I probably do that one.
Nice. So actually dying in the beginning of the game with 1 kill and 0 ammo. That's
that happens. Yeah.
nice, very nice. An easy one, is the biggest discussion in gaming since ever. Is what's the best thing to play games on, PC or console? This is the moment that people are gonna hate.
I'm a PC gamer myself, but I do enjoy when I go over to friends to pick up the console. And actually, if I really look at my full gaming career, I think I had the most fun on my Nintendo 64, to be honest. And that's a console, but today I don't play console games anymore. So maybe it's a love-hate relationship, and I think it also depends a lot from which game you play. For example, like Fall Guys, I prefer playing Fall Guys on the PlayStation versus on the computer. So it depends a little bit, but I think I'm more a PC gamer than a console gamer.
Right, nice. And like you said, even these days people play PC with a controller and the other.
Yeah.
So, but is this nice discussion has been gone for generations? Like, a PC is better, no, console is better. Whatever you enjoy, just it's crossplay anyway. And the last one, linked to more your entrepreneurial side, is: would you rather be very poor doing what you love, or do you want to be super rich working in or for a company that you're not really a fan of?
Definitely the first one, 100%. Because I did some assignments which were, like, from a financial point of view, very interesting, but it did not give me the energy and the joy that I had before. For example, in that period with really starting a company of my own and making your own decisions and having the freedom, and then you can't beat that feeling. And that's the most important thing for me.
Nice. You feel that, ladies and gentlemen? That's like, it's getting serious right here. Well, that's a really good answer. So people that are probably wondering, when we talked about gaming, we talked about the entrepreneur, we talked about you, about your engagement, and that's a bit the lightning round, the wrap up of everything that we're gonna discuss here today. So Niels, if you're ready, let's kick off this show for real. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Stand Up Talk.
Are you listening?
Let's go.
Let's go.
Damn.
Okay, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're still with Niels. We had the lightning round. You heard some stuff. If you're still thinking, who is Niels? This will clarify everything. And I guarantee you, I'm not overselling this, but you will be a big fan of him and what he does together, also with his business partners, and what his mindset is in life and how he's looking at the things that he's doing. We'll start off talking a bit about, like I said, you were going to the city hall with your bike. You just recently, congrats, by the way, you recently asked your girlfriend to marry you, and in the prep talk of this podcast, she said yes. That's always really important if you're getting married. She said yes. For all the ladies, and also for the gentlemen, I think I'm also curious, but also for all the ladies, how did you ask her? Was it just, hey, want to get married, or was it really this all-out romantic thing?
Yeah, maybe before explaining how I asked it, something very special happened, like, to me personally, a few minutes before I asked her to marry me. And this is a topic that I actually didn't hear a lot of people talking about, or didn't hear many experiences about. But for me, it was a very special moment the minutes before I was going to ask her to marry me. Because we rented this place in the Ardennes region in Belgium. There was a fireplace, etc. So it was very cozy. We just had a very good dinner. I bought like a super good steak that we put in the oven and then ate that one. So I went upstairs. She was drinking something, I guess. I went upstairs to go and get the ring. And like that moment, like the few minutes before, you know that you're going to ask it in a few minutes. It really, it had a big impact on me, because I at that point, I really got that feeling like this is probably the most important thing that I ever did in my entire life. And it's not that I didn't think about this or I didn't think it through before, right? But but the emotional surge I got through my body was really like I started so many companies, I did so many things. But this is the most important thing I ever did. And it's weird for me that I didn't got these stories from other people yet. Maybe other people don't experience it like that. It can be. But this is for me was a very special feeling. And then I got downstairs and I rehearsed a bit beforehand, like what I was going to say. She was in the sofa. I got next to her. And actually, it was on her 30th birthday. It was her birthday. And I actually told her, like, I have one very small birthday gift for you. But it's very small. And she was like, what is this? You already did this weekend and a nice dinner, etc. And then I just started like explaining how I got to know her and how I felt in the beginning and how that's progressed through the periods that we got to know each other better. And the things that she like, how she supports me and what I'm doing and accepts who I am, etc. And I had this small story. It didn't come out the way I wanted it to say it because I was a bit nervous. Because what happened a few minutes before that really struck me. So I was a bit nervous. But she started crying like 10 seconds after my explanation started because she knew what was going to happen, right?
Or she was thinking like, I think this is the moment, and if it's not, it's going to be very awkward.
And then maybe one small thing I will never forget is I asked her like, do you want? I made a small joke. Do you want to marry this super slim, sometimes clumsy, blah 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 guy? Are you sure? And I also in my head I always imagined that she would say yes, but she said I'd love to. And the thing is, like, I again something I did not think about whatsoever. I always thought like you ask someone to marry you, and then they hopefully say yes, but she did not say yes. She said I love to, and it's something I will also never forget. It's maybe something small, but it had again had a positive emotional impact or experience on me.
It's that extra is like really confirmation, not just yes because I saw it in the movie, but really like I love to. I'm so 100% sure of this. That's a nice one. I can really, really relate. I'm not going to tell my story, but I'm going to really relate to the fact like the nerves up front. You have no clue. Like you said, you've probably done so many other things in your life that were 10 times more, not really exciting, but nerve-wracking. Or getting a financial round for your company, or you're like, oh my God, I'm going bankrupt right now. And then you have to ask your own girlfriend, do you want to marry me? And you just freeze up. It's funny how that works. But, you know, if you're not nervous enough, you don't want it badly enough. I think your whole body's like, right, this is right. So nice. So you had I remember the steak. I remember sitting in the Ardennes, the fireplace, romance, and then popping the present on our birthday. That's nice. That's a really good. So gentlemen, if you're listening, this is like a good example of how you could do it yourself if you're thinking about asking your girlfriend. And linking to that, I really like, because I talked to you, of course, before the episode, but if you see now how you explain this love for your girlfriend, the way you ask it, you radiate, even if we're doing this virtual, you radiate positive energy. Even though it's COVID and the half of the world is depressed right now, you radiate positivity towards the screen. I hope people that are listening right now also feel that in your voice. That positivity that is probably also going to benefit your relationship. The thing that I'm noticing right now, what I see you doing, if I look at your history and your other companies, and now with Kalo, the recent, which we're going to talk about in a second, did you always have that positivity? Were you like a positive child, or is that something you developed, that mindset, or is it just something you had?
That's it's not an easy question to answer. I think I was always, as a child as well, a person that was positive and smiled a lot. And the funny thing is that like one of my co-founders was on a TV show for a few months.
Young Wolves.
And I got indeed, Young Wolves, and I got a few minutes of screen time. And the funny thing was that I had a lot of people from my youth, from like 10 to 18 years old, who said like, yeah, it's just like how I remember you. You're always smiling. So I think I wasn't conscious at the moment as a child, but I think I always was someone who, in a sense, liked smiling and being positive and maybe a bit naive about certain things in life. So I think it was there as a child. but I myself did not experience it that way. I was very uncertain. I think I only started to believe in myself that I was capable of doing things when I was maybe like 19 or 20 years old. Before I was engaged in a gymnastics club, and I organized the youth camp, etc. So I was doing things, but I never had this self confidence or this feel like I'm a positive person who's a go getter and who goes for things and accomplishes them. I did not have this feeling as a child. This only really started to evolve in being more confident and trusting in myself, believing in myself when I was at university.
Okay.
So that evolved.
And is there something that specifically triggered you? Because I think that mindset that you have, you also need if you're a gaming athlete, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're in a corporate job, doesn't really matter. You need it in life. If I look at your history, also back in university, you didn't not only start companies and expanded companies and doing it with Calo and then all the companies we're going to discuss in a second, but you're also on the student council and on the board of the university itself. So there was always something that was driving you to to stand up, like we said, to stand up for what you believe in, what other students you represented, over 3,000 students in that council, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
What was it that still got you to stand up? Where did you find that confidence, or what triggered you to start that?
I think it was a process, right? I think when I got to the university, when you go to the university, you have a few moments in life that you can define who you are, right? If you go to the university, 99% of the people there don't know you, so basically you can be whoever you want, like to put it in the extreme. So I think that was a liberating feeling for me because I was not that confident, and then I had some negative experiences in when I was younger, that I felt like, okay, this can be a positive reset. And in the discovery process of who am I, what do I want to achieve, where do I want to go, and it was not that from day one I was like, okay, I want to be in the council of the student council or in the board of the university. It was just like discovering what do I like to do, what is interesting to me, and then I got to know that there was a student council and that they were looking for people, and then I was like, maybe this is interesting. So I went to the first to an open meeting where you could go, and it seemed like it was interesting and could have impact, because at that point I think I started to also realize that the things that I did in the past, like organizing youth camps, etc., was to have a positive impact on other people, because it made me happy that other people were enjoying their time. I felt like with the student council, I could have some positive impact. So then I started to go to more meetings, and then you have to get elected. So I put myself candidate to get elected. And then I actually got elected.
You were like, what's going on?
I was like, okay, that's nice, but it's not that it was that complex, right? But I had to step. I think that for me was the first time I felt like I have to step out of that comfort zone, because I have to ask a lot of people, and a lot of people that I do not know, if they wanted to vote for me. Again, it's not that big of a deal, but the thing is, like, it was, I think for me, the purest memory of getting out of that comfort zone and stepping up to someone, asking like, did you already vote? If not, you can vote for me, right? What do they know? They don't even know what the student council is and who to vote for. But in the end, you are approaching a stranger and try to convince him to do something. But you're strong in your shoes, because if I get elected, I will try to do my best to actually have the most positive impact for the students in the university. And that's like how the ball started rolling. I got elected, and then you have this positive confirmation, like, okay, I want to achieve something. I have to do an effort I don't feel comfortable with, and I achieve my results. And it was maybe the first time that I felt like this process was enjoyable for me, that I liked setting goals, doing things, and achieving them. And that's how the ball started rolling. And then I discovered that you could get a certain role in the student council, and actually, then I became the president of the student council, and then I was on the board of the university. So it was always these small steps towards achieving a goal that I set, which I believed would make me happy, but also it would probably make me happy because I could have a positive impact on other their lives. So
like the important one that I remember what you're saying, like, is you started not by I want power and I want to rule this school forever. I want to be president. No, you start like I want to have a positive impact. That gives me positive energy. That's exactly why. And people that don't even know you, you radiated that energy. They felt that you were doing that for them, even though they had no clue. They voted for you,
Mhm.
got further and further, and that's the right. I think also if you go through entrepreneurship, that's
Mhm.
correct me if I'm wrong, the number one. You don't start for money. You go with your bike to the city hall and not with a Lambo. Like you start your company now because you want to make money. Of course, everybody wants to make money.
Yeah,
You don't
sure.
have to be
It's
like,
not that I don't want a Lambo,
yeah,
right?
there you go.
Electric one maybe, but it's not that it's a goal that if I achieve it, I feel like with if you look at like physical possessions, there are not many things that I feel like okay, it would be nice to have it, but it's not that if I would have it, I would be 10 times more happy than I am today. I think it would be cool, but it would have a limited impact on my overall feeling of happiness. That's the way I look towards these things.
That's true. I don't remember the quote exactly, but it's like if you're what was it? If you're like if you have no money, life is hard. If you have money, life is still hard, but it's easier. Something like that. It's I just messed up the whole
Mhm.
quote, but you get the point.
I get the
Good point.
point. Yeah.
What I also like in what you said is not just starting for, I just want to make a positive impact. And I think for people listening, if that is your drive, unless you come with a really weird product or service that nobody wants, then it's probably not going to work. But if you have a positive impact in your school or later on in your business, people are going to notice and you're going to
Mhm.
notice because your energy is going to change because you're going to get the positivity back. And I also like the fact, and I think a lot of people are struggling with that. Also, if I look at our business in coaching, is who are you? And if you're young, like university, you said, like in a game, you can still invent yourself. You can still be
Mhm.
who you want to be, find that personality. But I also think that a lot of people on a later age are still looking to reinvent themselves and
Mhm.
like do you have like maybe this is a really hard question, but is there something that looking at your history professionally or student wise that can help people in finding themselves who they are, really finding that voice that you found in university and later on in life, or is it just does it
Eh,
go too far?
I think that that you cannot discover this by thinking about it.
Okay.
That is something and we can talk about because I'm reading a lot about neuroplasticity and learning new things, and then we can maybe talk about it later if you want. But I think like the only way to discover that you're passionate about something is by actually doing it and sticking through and seeing what impact it has on how you feel as a person. And I think that if you have a trigger in your brain, like this might be interesting, or this triggers me, or I saw this and it's cool, or I saw this guy or this girl doing this, and maybe this is something for me. It's super easy to do an exploration on certain topics or sports or whatever. It's the threshold is very low to start doing something at a small level. um, and like I always say, like a big achievement or a big improvement is a result of many small actions. I think it's the same way with discovering your passion. If you don't enjoy the process of doing these small things, then it's not your passion. Your passion is not that if I achieve this, then I'm passionate about it. It's about the process of doing this, and then by doing this and being happy and liking to do this, that you might achieve things. So I think for discovering your passion, that's I think how it went with me, and I was very lucky to discover what my passions were at a rather young age, because as you mentioned, like a lot of people might struggle this with at older age. If you don't try, you don't know. And I'm not saying that you have to throw your whole life around to try certain things. I think you can do a lot of things in a smaller scale. um, but I think if I could give one advice, I think it might work, because again, I'm not an expert on the topic. It's just like if you have a certain trigger in your brain that tells you that if you do something that it might be cool, or you might like it, or it might give you energy, just go and try it out. And if you like it, then yeah, then you will do it more and more and more and more, and before you know, you might have discovered what your passion is. But you won't discover your passion with when you're googling behind your computer or thinking about what could my passion be. That's not how it works. That's not how the flow of life works, I believe.
Yeah, that's true. It's really good. I think a friend of mine who says, I don't know if it's his quote. He said, paralysis by analysis. A lot of people are indeed Google
Mm-hmm.
personalities.
Yeah.
For me, it's not for me, and in the end, their situation stays unchanged, and I really like that. Like we said, are we expert at the topics? No, but if it helps someone, if it had made a positive impact on someone listening, we already did a good job. But I really like the fact that you said, do like the process, not just that
Mm-hmm.
end goal. Do the small steps in the process. And if I link it to myself, I really recognize, like, you have the skateboard. For the people that are just listening, you can't see it, but if you watch the video on YouTube, you see that there's or at least a deck of a skateboard is behind you. And me also in schooling, and it's the same for everything in life. I saw other kids skateboarding and they looked really cool back in the day. I sound really old right now. Back in the day, I was like, I want to skateboard. Yeah, I want to do this. I want to look cool. I want to have the baggy pants and the Vans or the whatever it was back then. And I did it and I tried it. Small steps, just bought a skateboard, went on it, and I did it for a couple of days. And I noticed I wasn't really good at it, which is normal. But also, and that's the one I really loved what you said, I didn't enjoy it. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I just want the victory. I want to look cool, but I am not enjoying this skateboard. But I tried it. So now I know, and I'm not going to do it. Then I went, like we discussed before the podcast, I went to snowboarding, which is also cool. And there, the mountains, the cold, the whole atmosphere was like, I don't want to be on a ramp on an asphalt park somewhere in my hometown. I want to be in the mountains on my snowboard, and I love it. And even though I have to fall down a million times, have sore wrists and all that, I kept trying because my body said, "You still suck, but we enjoy." Be bad at the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I really love. Do it, try it. If it's not okay, that's also okay. But you have tried it, and if you do, even though you're not good, your body will tell you, "This is it. Just stick with it."
Mhm.
That's
Yeah, indeed. I definitely believe in that approach. Definitely.
cool. And then you found that out in your student life. I highlighted that because I, as a student, wasn't really into the councils, and I was really, really, really shy. And I was just like, if
Mhm.
everybody leaves me alone and can just play my video games, I will get through life. That was me in my whole school years. So I didn't have that. So I really admire people that were in the councils, taking a positive impact on the school. And then you started your entrepreneurial journey, which you were already doing. We have, if you look, and you have Calo, which we see in the back,
Mhm.
gaming nutrition. We're going to talk about in a second. You have, together with your partners, you have Honey Badger Ventures, which is like the overarching organization for all your
Mhm.
things. You have Atlas 9, you have Jane, you have Poppy, Conversation Starter, you work KPMG, you started TEDx in your local community. The list is never ending. How did it start with you? And the reason that I'm asking you, and I'm going to try to do it as simple as possible, is how did you start that entrepreneurial journey? Because a lot of people also listening that are in jobs right now, or maybe young people that are still in school, are like, I want my own business. Why can't I do it? How do I take that first action? Is it for me?
Mhm.
Not for me? And again, analyzing too much, how did you start, and what is your learnings that people can
Yeah.
use to start their entrepreneurial journey if they want to?
Yeah. If I look back on the start of my entrepreneurial journey, it was like the book The Lean Startup. If you read that book, I actually did not read the book after I started my first company, but it was I continuously had the feeling like, oh shit, this happened to us, this happened to us, this happened to us, so it happened a bit accidental, let's say. So a friend of mine, Rutger Bevers, also studied at the university in Hasselt. And he came to me and said, like, okay, Niels, you're the president of the student council. I want to organize a TEDx conference because you could start licensing the TEDx license in a certain region. I want to do a university event. I think I'm looking for team members to join me on this. I think it would be good if you could join because you seem like a serious guy who can get things done. Not that many people in the university I can find. So do you want to help me organize this event? And I said, yeah, of course. I definitely want to help because it sounded cool to me, sharing new ideas among students, but also with professionals or entrepreneurs. So I said, of course, yeah, I'll join. And we organized the event for a few years in a row. And the second year, I think we had 500 attendees. It was a very big event for us. Like as a student, I think it was a budget of 40 or 50K, which were like shitload of money for us back then, so that we could manage. So that was cool.
Great.
Yeah. So that was interesting. And we were like, we had this mentality, both Rutger and myself, like, how can we improve the event? Like, what are the things that we can do, the small things, big things, to create more value for the attendees? And so we were event organizers ourselves, thinking about how can we create more value. And one of the things was networking. Because if you go to an event, I don't have to explain it. You know, if you're standing there, you don't know who to talk to. In the end, you might be stuck with someone.
Pretend to be on the phone.
Pretend to be on the phone. Or in the end, you talk to someone and it's a conversation which is going nowhere, but that you're standing there with the two of you, and it's very awkward to end your conversation. Like, we came up with an idea, like, okay, everyone shares like a topic he wants to talk about, like, let's say stand-up comedy or esports or whatever. Everyone shares one topic, and we have a long list with an Excel of all these topics, and then we manually match these people with each other and say, at that time, at that location, you will meet each other and talk about this topic for 15 minutes. And then you go on to the next person you're going to talk to. So it's a limited time frame around a certain topic. And actually, the idea is, if you like the conversation and if it seems to be relevant for both parties, then you can do a follow-up meeting later after the event. Because that is what networking at events is for us. Is it interesting for me to connect with you on a deeper level? Let's do it after the event. You won't make the business deal, or you won't raise X amount of money at the event in a 15 minutes conversation, right? So a very efficient way of selecting the people in the crowd that are relevant for you, then talking to them and getting to know, like, are they really relevant or interesting for me? So we did this, and it was
and that's something really. Did you also notice, as a side question, how you're telling that? Is it something that worked in Belgium, but also other countries? The reason I ask is I spent a lot of time in my previous job in the Netherlands, and what you're doing there is doing small conversations. If it's relevant, you can continue somewhere else. If it's not, after 15 minutes, you're gone. And I notice in networking events in Belgium, it's again, we're shy, reserved. It's once you're stuck in a certain conversation, you're too polite to like leave the conversation and network with the same people for an hour unless there's some sort of speaker.
Yep.
And I noticed in the Netherlands, they do that automatically. Like, if they talk to you, they like the conversation or they don't like the conversation. And after 10 minutes, they're like, okay, great. Give me your card. I'm going to contact you. Or, well, it was nice talking to you, but we can't do anything for yourself. I'm going to go to the next conversation. And the first time I had that, I was like, you don't like me? And you notice it's not liking. It's just like, I have a limited time and I want to speak to many people possible. 10 minutes were interesting. Let's move on. But we stay for 3 hours or something like that. So did it also work like in other countries or just Belgium?
Yeah, we were basically solving two problems. And one problem was a big one in Belgium, but we were solving one. You have a group of people with faces that you don't know what they do and what you should talk about. Unless you're that, but you only, like, 1 in 1,000 people does this, is to download the full list of attendees, LinkedIn them all, figure out which one are the relevant, and then make sure that even contact beforehand that we have a quick talk at the event. Like, but no, but like 1% or even 0.0001% of the people does this. But we wanted to facilitate this process. Like, there's a group of people who at first glance might be the most interesting people to talk to, because in the end, you still only have the time at the event, right? Even if you're very efficient at doing only talking 5 to 10 minutes to every person, if you only can network for 1 hour, you can talk max 6 to 8 people. So we wanted to make the process to know who you should talk to more efficient, but we also wanted to make the process, and that's maybe indeed a bit more an issue in Belgium than in other countries, is that you have an easy hard end of your conversation and that nobody is bothered with the fact that you have a hard end. Yeah. So were these two that we were solving. So that's what happened at the event. And then both Rutger and myself, we graduated. I started career in consulting. I wanted to start my own company, but I had no idea in what I had to start my own company. So the typical thing, like, how do you get an idea? It was the situation I was in. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to sit at home, do nothing. So I'll take a consulting career like everybody does after an economics study in university, right? But the thing is, what the TEDx conferences, they kept going because the legacy that we built, we passed it on to a new team and a new team, and it still exists today. With the idea that every year there's a new team who organizes the event, because we also wanted to stimulate student entrepreneurship, right? But so the Rutger had some time at his hands, and he further refined the solution. With refined, I mean, it was still like a very manual thing, but it was shifting more towards conversation starters. So like a full sentence instead of one word, because we discovered, like, if someone says esports, it might be that both of them are looking for a partner in esports marketing, for example. Then you have two people who are looking for something and nobody who can offer something on that topic. So we shifted more to requests and offers, like I'm looking for X, or I can talk to you about, or I can give you information about, or we offer services about, blah, blah. So there was some improvements. And actually there were some other event organizers who were attending our conference. And they said, we want to use it at our event as well. And then, naive as we were in the beginning, we gave it for free into a few events. And then we started thinking, like, maybe we can ask money for this. Because at the other events, there were other event organizers who also wanted to use it at their event. And then we said, okay, we're going to be very bold and ambitious. We will ask 50 euros.
Oh my God.
and then someone said, okay, we paid them 50 euros. And then, okay, but after fast forward a year and a half, we were asking more than 1,000 euros per event. So, but the thing is, like, that is what happened. We were event organizers ourselves, so we started from an opportunity that we saw, or a frustration, you can call it both, in something that we were doing, and we built a small solution for this. And apparently, other people also had this problem, and they were willing to pay money for a solution. And I think that's the best way to start a company, is from a frustration that you have and that you solve for yourself, and then actually discover that there's other people who have the same issue or challenge, or not taking advantage of a certain opportunity, and you offer it to them as well. And if it is really valuable, you can ask money in return. And then that's, I think, how we approached it, and how I think most of the successful ideas further grow. But then in the end, then you only did half of the work, right? You had the idea, you started, and then it's a matter of execution. It's refining the tool. It's more these nuances. It's certain events where nobody used the application, but the event organizer paid money for it, like
50 euros.
Yeah, not the 50 euros anymore. But then, the stakes are getting higher, and if it then doesn't work properly, or there's an issue, or not many people use it, that's how we went on. And what actually happened is that I wasn't spending too much time on this. I was focusing on my work at KPMG, but Rutger was spending more time on it. And at a certain point, he called me and said, like, yeah, Niels, I need your help, because we really have. He's more like a product technical guy. And he said, I really need your help, because people are willing to spend money for this solution, and I feel like we can make a business out of this, but I don't want to do it alone. So we started discussing, and then in the end we decided to start the company together with a 50-50 split of the shares. And then that's how we started. And then we applied for an accelerator, an incubator. We got 50K, and then I quit my job at KPMG, and I went full time for Conversation Starter.
Awesome. If I take the lessons from your story, because there's a lot in there, and if you look at young people that want to start their business, or you're 45 years old working as a consultant and you still want to start because it's never too late, then looking at your story, there's some sort of, not really luck, but luck involved in having that opportunity, meeting the right people, like with the TEDx, like, hey, Niels, I saw you, can you help me? And a kickstart, but it's also being open to the opportunity. And then what I also heard other people say, and you confirmed it with your story, is that when I talk to people that want to start their own business, it's always the same process. I'm looking for an idea. I don't know yet, but what is my idea? And then if you're lucky, you have an idea. And then they want to start, and they go focus on their logo. And I need a website, and I need a VAT number. And there's so much stuff that doesn't really matter yet that they focus on. And then months later, they still haven't started their business, but they have a logo, they have a website, they have an idea of how their company should look. They even rented an office, even though they don't have employees. But looking at your story, I think the most natural way is you have an idea or you have something that you love, you want to have a personal, positive impact on people, or you have a certain frustration that you just want to solve and you don't even know, like you said, you don't even know if you can ask money for it and do it for free in the beginning, but you just start, like you also
Mhm.
said with the council. And if you start, you will notice if you love it. And if you love it, you will see that other people will join in. And if it's really a good idea, people will want to pay money for it. You started for free, you went to 50 euros, you notice you can ask 1,000 euros. And that's how the ball starts rolling. And then if it really goes, you'll come at a certain point, like you did and like you told us, that or your partner will ask you, or you will notice yourself, oh my God, it's time to quit my job. I really
Mhm.
need to go full time because this needs my attention. And I think looking also at other, that's really the most healthy way of starting, right?
Yeah, I think there are other ways, definitely. For example, like you have a situation where you might be a freelancer or a consultant, and you discover that the services that you offer, that you can productize it, right? And then you can productize your services. This is a way of doing it. I think another way is like if you look at societal issues or challenges, and you're motivated to solve a certain piece of the puzzle in that frame. So I think there are other ways, but I think the most natural way indeed is like you say, you start trying things, and in the beginning you don't ask too much money or nothing, or you try to build this MVP, right? This minimum viable product, that's something that has a certain worth to people, or solves a problem, or grasps an opportunity, preferably in an area that you, or the problem that you have it yourself as well. um, I think that's the most natural process to start and build a company, definitely.
If I look at my own, of course, this podcast is not about me, but to relate to, I like to be the center of attention. Yes, look at me, I'm Marnick. No, but to look at my own journey, I graduated, went to work in an agency, went to the from the agency to PepsiCo, big corporate, US driven company. There also, I was, I don't know, somewhere late, almost 30 years old, I think, or late 20s, doesn't really matter. And I was working there, and I also had the same thing. Like, what is my idea? I come from a family of entrepreneurs. I kid you not. We have a huge family. There's 65 people at the Christmas table. So we have a huge family. And and I'm not lying, each and every one of them has their own company. My uncles, my nephews, my nieces, they all run so. So I grew up with entrepreneurs around me. I was like, I'm the only one who wasn't doing this. I need an idea. And it's the same with you. I love the fact that it comes back, and I hope it inspires people that are listening right now. Is at a certain point, a brand manager came to me and said, Marnick, I just want to ask you a question. How come you're getting all the budget in the company? How come you are allowed to hire people even though we have a hiring freeze? How do you do it? How do you convince these people? And I was like, that's again a frustration of the brand managers.
Mhm.
They're bumping into it. They're asking me how I do it because they see that we're getting things done. I started analyzing myself, like, how am I doing it in the boardroom? How am I communicating? And I said, I'm going to give internal training. So I started one training. It was a huge success. And all the brand managers were like, this is exactly what we need. Now we know how to communicate internally and go to the corporate politics. And it started expanding to other countries. And I was doing it for free, besides my normal PepsiCo job, which was the
Mhm.
digital manager. And then at a certain point, it was like, hey, I'm repeating your words. I'm getting energy out of it. There's a frustration or a problem being solved. I like doing it. I'm growing in it. I'm not making any money in it, but it's still fun to do. Maybe I should quit my job and also offer this to other companies similar to PepsiCo. And that's what we've been doing now for 5 years running. So it's funny how that story
Yeah,
that you
you
just
can
told.
see some similarities, and I think that's something that you can see in a lot of these stories. Definitely, definitely.
So I really, really like that. So if you're listening, write this down. We can do that. This is really important stuff. Okay, so then you went to conversation starter. You were already starting your journey, and we're not going to discuss every company that you
No, no, no.
went through. But if I'm looking at Poppy, sharing the cars, the mobility. If I'm looking at the Jane with the senior citizens, helping them. If I look at Colo right now, which are working on esports nutrition, which we will discuss in a second, is all these companies you started, you built, there was funding involved, there were partnerships involved, there was a
Mhm.
lot of assets back from your TEDx days. There's a really different ball game
Mhm.
with all these investors. what was that journey like? What were the lessons going from, for example, conversation starter to Calo? And what can other people learn that are now in the startup scale up world? Like, how do you
Yeah.
build, how do you track money? How do you
Okay. All right. So maybe if I talk to, I'll try to summarize my major learnings per venture. I think the first thing is with conversation starters, you need to be as an entrepreneur a bit naive, right? You have to need this small percentage of lunatic inside of you who
write
sees something or believes something that other people don't, right? That they don't see or don't believe. So I think you need this, right? Because it will never go as planned. And sometimes I had the idea like if I knew it was going to go like this, I probably wouldn't have done it, right? This is a moment that because it's so high, very high highs, but also very low lows, that sometimes you really think, what the fuck am I doing here? But I think you need to be a bit naive, a bit this lunatic percentage, let's say, that you need to move forward and break through these walls that people say like you cannot break through this. And sometimes you hit the wall and you have to step back and walk around it, but sometimes you can go through and everybody's like, oh, what the fuck, it could actually work, right? That's the one thing that you need. The second thing that I learned at Conversation Starter is you have to talk to your customers, right? It's not that you're sitting there in your room and you build something and you sell it and you hope that they like it. That's not how great products are built. You use it and you say, okay, how did you feel that it went? If it didn't went good, just be honest and tell us what you think can improve. You have to have an open conversation. And I think that my first lesson was you have to be human. Don't be afraid to be human in building a company or a product, because there are other humans who are using your product, right? So that human connection is super important. And that's something that I discovered and also missed the ball sometimes with Conversation Starter, that we were brainstorming internally about new features, while you should actually probably get your feature list driven by what your customers need. So that was a big learning there. And then a third big one is sharing the same vision with your co-founder, because Rutger and myself, we were very good friends, and we really had this feeling like, okay, we want to solve matchmaking and make sure that relevant connections happen between people, so that they can build new and amazing companies or ideas or whatever. We see value in terms of innovation by connecting the right people. So we had the shared vision, but then along the way, we discovered that we actually had a different vision on how the real product strategy of the company should go, right? And I'm not going to go in the details here, but I think one of the reasons that I decided to quit Conversation Starter and sell my shares to Rutger is because there was like this mismatch in how we felt like the company should progress. And I think it is important that when you start a business, like, I'm not going to say it's the same as marriage, because as I said before, it's different. But in the end, you're committing a large part of your time or of your life maybe with a certain person. And it's very important that you have the same end goals in mind with the company and the way you want to run the company and the culture that there should be in the company, and many of these aspects that you should be aligned on. And I think that a lot of first-time founders especially underestimate this, right? If you say, okay, we're a complementary team and we can go to a bar and have some beers and we don't leave with a fight, okay, we're good co-founders, right?
Exactly.
I think it's a bit more than that. And I was very fortunate to discover this with my current business partners, Alexander and Moos. So they had another company, and then they asked me if I wanted to join them to start Poppy. And there it was like, I felt like there was this natural process in how we ran the business. We shared the same values in life, the same values in how we want to grow the company, the same vision, but also like these practical things like who is responsible for what. And it felt like it was just working, right? I can't really explain it that well, but we had our domains that we were working on. We were doing things. And if we did something without asking one of the other two, it's actually what they were like, okay, nice that you tried this. And also this very strong respect for each other and this agree to disagree, because sometimes it's like, I actually don't agree that this should be the best thing for us to do. But at that moment, like putting yourself behind what's good for the company, let's say, putting yourself on a second spot and then trying this out. And if it works out, great. We did it together. Let's go. If it doesn't work out, also not being the dick and saying like, hate to say I told you. So like, okay, we decided together. We wanted to try this. We try it. It works. Doesn't work. Doesn't matter. Whose idea it was. It doesn't really matter. It's the common good. And to maybe to frame how strong this bond is between the three of us, because I feel like we are three best friends who can go to work together every day. So it's a unique situation. But we started our holding company, Honey Badger Ventures. We named it after the honey badger because it's the most badass animal on the planet. So you have to check some YouTube videos on that one.
Put the link in the description of this podcast if you haven't seen the videos of the honey badger. It's like you said, this animal. Yeah. It's alien. It's crazy.
So that's why we chose the honey badger. But we have the holding company. We put all the money that we have in the holding company. We have 1/3 of the holding company. We have the same management fee that we take out of the holding company. But the revenues that we generate, they all go to the holding company. If I give a presentation somewhere and they pay me a fee, it goes to the holding company. If Alexander does a workshop and it generates a fee, it goes to the holding company, right? So everything that we do, even if it is linked to our personal name, let's say, because in the end, I think we built our brand a bit together, but we sometimes get personal questions. The money goes to the holding company. And that also really creates this feeling of we're going for it together. Whatever happens, we do it together. And it might be that one year, maybe someone generates 10,000 euros for the holding company, another one generates nothing. It doesn't matter. We're not comparing. Same goes with holidays. We're not counting holidays. We don't have a policy. How many holidays can you take? Whatever. It's just like
that is, because it's a question I get a lot also from coaching that are working for co-founders. The fact that you say we have Honey Badger Ventures. We're sitting there together. You give a presentation. You bring in that year 10,000. Someone else brings 20,000. It's working. It's going effortless. It's like in a good relationship with your future wife that you have. It goes smooth, and that's how it should be. But can you pinpoint what that is? Because I can imagine that a lot of companies that are having the same venture, for example, and one person brings in 20K and the other person brings in 50K, the immediate, and maybe I'm too negative in this, the immediate reaction would be, I am doing this alone. I'm bringing in 50K and you're bringing in 20. You're being lazy. Am I the only one in this company? What is it that makes, the acceptance that you're in there together? Because it sounds easy.
It's not.
But it's not. Is it ego or what is it?
I think it has to do with two things. Number one is that you have a shared long-term vision. And in the bigger scheme of things, 20 or 50K more or less on 1 year, it will and should not make the difference. If it contributes to, if we made the decision that together with the three of us, we will be able to generate more impact than doing it separately in how we approach entrepreneurship. So we discovered this throughout Poppy, that the three of us is not 1 + 1 + 1, it's more. And so that's a great working formula. And we agreed that this can work and can even more strongly work if we do this for the next 10, 20, 30 years. So you cannot say on a yearly basis that this effort that generated money is better for the holding company than another effort that generated no money that year is then worse or better for the holding company. That's a non-discussion, right? So that's part one, is this long-term vision. And it is linked to that we discovered that we share the same values and opinions and vision in life. That's super important. That's the foundation, that you have the same values, how you are as a private person, but also how you want to build a company, and that you have the same long-term vision on life. It's not a blueprint, right? We want to do this year and that this year. That's not how we operate, but like the long-term flag that you plant, we plant the same flag. And we know that if we work together, we can get onto that insane flag. And the second thing is communication. Like and I don't think I have to tell you this of all people, but every successful partnership is built on solid communication. And we have a very open way of communicating how we feel with certain decisions. if we feel down, if we feel stoked, if we feel uncomfortable, if we feel there is a disbalance, then there is no situation where we try to hold this in for months and months and months and then explode. No, it's immediately said like, well, maybe I feel like this. I don't know how I feel, but it feels weird. Or I don't feel 100% comfortable with this situation. I don't know why. Can we discover together why this is the case? And I think those two things, like the shared vision in the long run and the shared values and the very strong communication that we have, makes it work. Now, there's one thing I want to add is I believe that what we have is very unique and it is not the only working model to be successful as an entrepreneurial team. Yeah. You can be successful as a solo co-founder, you can be successful as a couple doing a business, right? Oh, but you can also, but you can also, I think if you can frame what the expectations is from each other in a business relationship, you can definitely have a solid co-founder structure with people who have a completely different life and ambition in the long run, as long as it is very clear for each other what the added value and the role is of every party in the organization and in the venture. And in our case, the special thing is that we pulled it completely open. It's everything, right? So, but it's a unique situation that we're in. And I'm very grateful that I can work like this in my daily life. So.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. Like I said, I also had the feeling like probably exists, but it's really unique. It shouldn't be unique because even though there are different models, like you said, it's the way to go and create that atmosphere of trust between founders that it doesn't matter how much you bring in, as long as it goes for the long term, no matter how much holiday you take. And you have the environment, the safe environment that you can actually say, I don't feel comfortable with this, or I don't like to do this, or this is what I like, and you don't feel judged. My God, that is where everybody wants to go. So if I then look, because I agree, if you look at most startups or entrepreneurs that start together with 2 or 3 people, they start off in a bar or they have been working together, and at one night they write an idea on a piece of paper. And they're like, let's do this. Shares, go to the lawyer, do the whole sign up, and they go. And after a while, they discover that it doesn't really gonna work. How do you get to that point? Because I agree with the values, I agree with the long-term visions, I agree with everything you said. But how do you get to that point? Well, the same in a relationship. You didn't connect immediately with your what's her name, by the way?
Anna.
You didn't connect immediately. You dated. You went to the movies, the restaurants, and you grew and you saw. Most of the time, founders don't have that time. They go to the lawyer, they have the contract, they have the shares, and they start. And then 1 year later, they notice, maybe we're not meant to be. How do you go from maybe we should start a business together to your situation without having the financial consequences and having all the contracts? Because it takes time to build that environment.
Yeah, what I recommend to people is to try to go on a holiday together with your potential co-founder, but long enough, not like a weekend, but 5 or 6 days, because then you see what people's habits are in life.
Oh yeah.
And so that, and it's the same with the relationship, right? Then you really, if someone moves in with you, or you go on a longer holiday, then you start to realize like, okay, this is really the person that I'm talking to and living with, or having the ambition to live with, right? And I think it's the same for co-founders. I would really recommend to go on a longer holiday or a longer strategic session for really like at least 4 or 5 days, long enough. And the goal there is to talk to each other and to get to know each other. And you should be able to create that environment those days that everybody can really share what his ambition is. And do I want to make $1 billion company out of this? Or is the $1 billion valuation just a rephrasing for the fact that I want to buy a nice house and a Lamborghini? And what does that $1 billion even mean to me, right?
Back to Lambo.
Yeah. So what does that even mean to me when I say I want $1 billion company? Do I want, if I cash in 100 million, do I want to start a non-profit and solve the flu worldwide? I don't know. Is it do I want to start a new company then? Do I really actually want to invest in real estate? Do I stop even work? Do I stop working when I cash in? I don't know. so I think that like having these hard discussions, and then secondly, the discussion like, okay, with this venture, how do I see it progressing? What is my work ethic? And then do I have children? Do I want children? Do I have a mortgage to pay? What is the situation? And really have these open discussions. And if you get home after those 5, 6, 7 days, and you don't have 100% the feeling like this works, then you're not there yet to, in my opinion, say we're gonna sign a contract for we're gonna split the shares. And because you will be working on this company normally for 3, 5, maybe 10 or longer years, right? That's a very long time period. So I'd say this is something that I strongly support. And the second thing is just do the legal work. And this is like it's not fun to do, but you have I have like a checklist, a founder checklist I got one day from a legal office, and it's like 100 questions which suck to answer, but it's a good thing that you answer them. Like, for example, what if one of your co-founder dies? What if his wife gets terminally ill, or ill that she cannot work anymore, and you don't have the money, you have to help her, so he has to help her? What happens? What if someone just decides, I don't want to do this anymore? What happens then? Like, all these questions. Who is the CEO? You're with 3. Who's the CEO? Yeah, I don't know. I want to be the CEO. I want to be the CEO. That's already a red flag opportunity, right? You should be able to really clearly say, like, that's the CEO, that's that guy. And all these, you have to try to enable friction points, actually. It's the same with the weekend. It's the same with the checklist, like that. Enable these friction points. And if there are friction points, it shouldn't be a problem. But then you can discuss them, and then everybody knows where they're standing. And I think then you can have a good, solid foundation to start a company, 1. And 2, if a situation arises, at least you have this document saying, like, okay, if this happens, yeah, that we discussed it beforehand, that's what happens, right?
That is really good. I never even thought about it. Yeah, well, my co-founder is Natalie, my wife. So we went on holiday, and we've been together for 15 years. So I know her. I think I know her. But that's a really good. It would also be very funny to like get investments from these venture capitalists, and then they say, "What are you going to do with our freshly capital?" Well, we're going to Fiji or Bora Bora. That's the first thing we're going to do with your money. But it's really good if you go on holiday, then you know what is going on, and you have that friction point. It's the same with marriage, linking back to what we started the podcast with. Also, there, you're getting married. We are already five years of marriage, and we also started after the engagement with going to the notary and making the prenup, and really having those friction points, like you said, and also the notary said, like, this is not a fun conversation, but what happens if he cheats on you? What happens if Natalie decides to divorce you? What happens if you die and you got money from your family? Where is that money going? And it all the romance out of your marriage. But it's like he said, of course we're going to go 100% for this marriage, but you're just prepping in case it doesn't work, because you never know how life is going to go.
No, you never know. And that's something what you did, I did it before I asked Anne to marry me. And that is a very, that's heavy. I'm not sure that I would recommend it to everybody, but it shows the person I am, I think. But I did this before I asked her to marry me, because I really felt like this was important. And it's not romantic at all, like you said. It's far from romantic. It causes friction either way. Even the best relationships, if they go, I think, to the notary to discuss these things, it will cause friction. Because you're saying, like, I want to spend the rest of my life with you, but it might happen. It always might happen. No one can predict the future. It's not that you think it will happen, but you have to be able to mature enough. And the same is, in my opinion, goes for a company. You have to have these discussions.
That's really good. So if I wrap it up until now, before we go in the last part of this episode, is I remember, for the people that are listening right now, find something that you really love, even though you're not yet sure what the idea is, or you're going to make money off of it, whatever. But are you doing what you love? Are you making a positive impact on your own life and other people? And then opportunity will come. Just start doing. I'm just repeating what you say. Just correct me if I misunderstood something.
Yeah.
Start doing, even though you don't have a VAT number or whatever, just like you did in school. Even if you're at a later age, just start small and see if you enjoy the process and not so much the victory that will come. But if you're not, like with the skateboarding, like I said, if you don't enjoy falling down and standing up, don't do it. And then you'll notice, of course, you have some sort of luck and you have to see some opportunity. Then I also remember, if you start, you have to have a small percentage of being a lunatic, being naive, believing that you're gonna conquer that world and whatever that you're doing, and that the world is beautiful, full of unicorns. That you need. I totally agree with that. And then you can do it on your own. You can do it together with people. But if you do it like most start, if I look at the most starters I know, and of course I'm not a reference, there's a lot of founders. It's always fun to start with 2 or 3 instead of doing it alone, because being an entrepreneur is a very lonely occupation. If you have 100 employees, it's still very lonely, because in the end you're responsible. And if you do that, I really love the fact that you said, do the holiday, get to know each other before you dive in, have the awkward conversations, have the, like in marriage, the prenup, like the frustration points, have that open communication, remove the ego. You bring in 10K, someone else brings 30K, doesn't matter. It's the end goal that matters, and make sure the communication is on point. Those are the things I take away of everything that you said right now.
Yep.
That's really good stuff. I think if you're listening, write this down, because this is going to change your entrepreneur. Even if it doesn't change your entrepreneurial life, it's going to change your relationship. That's what it's going about. So for the last part, talked about a lot. For the last part, I know you're into sports. You're into cycling. You're now doing the fitness in general, and with sports, I mean everything. You talk about sleep, about nutrition, about actually doing the exercises. Is this what triggered you to the brand, the company that you're building right now with the 2 gentlemen, Calo? Is that what triggered you to start in the esport nutrition, the specific nutrition business, or how did you roll in from going to cars and senior citizens into esports nutrition?
Yeah, so we, after the project, the Chain project, where we built the IoT platform for elderly people, we were like, okay, so now, because that was a corporate venture, Poppy was a corporate venture, we were like, okay, so the next thing we're going to do is start our own company, 100% our own company. We make our own decisions, do our own thing. And something we're passionate about, right? That I mentioned before. Maybe a red wire in I didn't mention before, between the 3 of us, is that the 3 of us are all passionate about performance. Let's call it the umbrella total human optimization, right? Where we focus on, like, what can we do to be, I won't say the best version of ourselves, but a version of yourself that you feel like, I'm in control. I can produce results. I can be creative. I feel good with my body and my mind, and good in the things that I'm doing, right? So how can I work towards this optimization of the self, let's say? And this reflects in things we experimented with our eating behavior, with sports, with sleep, with meditation, mindfulness, all these things. And the 3 of us, this is something that we from the start felt like this is something that binds us together as well. We have nice conversations and discussions about this. I read this, I tried this, what do you think? I know, like in the beginning, the first days of Poppy, Mols and I did like this juice cleanse thing where for 3 days you only drink juices, which is super popular now.
How
right?
did that turn out? Give me the details.
I hated it, but I have a completely different metabolism than Mols has. So again, but I like this. We have this experiment driven in a responsible way, right? Experiment driven. We like to experiment with ourselves and discover, like, how can we improve. So remember this, right? This is who we are, what we do, how we look at life. We're optimizers. And then when we started to think about a new venture, the idea was we're going to travel to some cities where we know other entrepreneurs. We just dive in a few industry sectors, and just let it come to us, right? So let's see what happens. But then COVID happened, right? And we did what I think like 99% of the people who ever played a video game did, was we started to play video games again, and more than we did in the years before.
Guilty as charged.
So yeah, so I think a lot of people can relate. and then we there's this maybe unhealthy habit that we developed throughout the past years, is that if we start doing something, one, we really dive into it. We cannot do something like a little bit. And two, we start analyzing the market, how the market works, what the fundamentals are, what the mechanics are. This is something, it's very difficult for the three of us. I discovered this. If we talk about the topic, we immediately start thinking about opportunities in the market. How does this market work? What ticks? And then we discovered like esports was really evolving super fast. And from my times at the university, and then the gap, I didn't play that many video games until today. The size had grown immense, and also the maturity was rising steadily. So we were discovering like, okay, there's $1 billion in revenue in esports. So esports, for the avoidance of doubt, for us is competitive video games, right? If you play a single player on your console, that's not esports for us. Esports is really where where you play against other humans. So we discovered like $1 billion market. We discovered some crazy metrics on viewership, which is like esports is one of the most viewed sports in the world. I think only the Olympic Games, Formula One, and the World Championship Soccer are more viewed than esports tournaments are viewed, so which is crazy. More people watch Twitch streams than I think Netflix and Hulu together on a daily basis. So we really started discovering these things like, holy shit, this is crazy. And in the meanwhile, we were gaming ourselves, and I really rediscovered this passion for this gaming. So the first reflex that we had was, we have an infinite amount of time we can spend on playing video games. How do we get as good as possible within that time frame? What are the things we can do inside, outside the game? Do we have to play the game itself? Do we have to review our own games? Do we have to review games from others? Do we have to work with aim trainers? Do we have to eat certain things? Do we have to, how does this work? Like, it was the same reflex that we had on all the other things we did in the past years. And then we started Googling and talking to people in the industry. And we actually discovered like there was not that much information available. And I did yesterday like a search on PubMed, which is like medical publications, like the leading medical publications aggregation site. I did like a search on road cycling, and I think I got like 20,000 scientific papers who did something like injuries, nutrition, training schedules, whatever, road cycling. Tennis was like, I think 7,000 or 8,000, and esports was like 90.
Nice.
So this is like, okay, what is happening there is you have like, I think like a new breed of performance, like the same that you have as a knowledge worker who spends a lot of time behind his computer screen. How are you able to, in an esports environment, to make optimal, rapid decisions under stress for a longer period of time? Longer meaning a game, 2 games, 3 games, but also multiple years. How can you like make a predictable schedule of being able to perform? Let me take, for example, if you want to be a good road cyclist, you can, if you Google a little bit and if you go to a training center, you can get all the information, or maybe 98% of the information, the same information as the world champion road cycling has. You can follow the schedule, and if you work hard for a few years, you can reach a certain level in this sport. This is not the case in esports. You can't just Google and say, okay, these are the things that I have to do, and I will reach a certain level. And it makes sense, right? Because it's a very young sport. And also, like, the knowledge on these topics are being generated in the top teams. So the international biggest teams, where the stakes are very high for prize money and sponsorship, they have their in-house nutritionist, their in-house chef, they have a personal trainer, a physiotherapist, a psychologist. They have all these people, and they are starting to build this framework that you have in other sports. But it would be stupid for them to share this framework with other players, but it is because it's a competitive advantage at this stage. And what you actually have as a result is you have a highway with 2 speeds, and the left lane is so fast that it is impossible for people to join in the left lane if they're driving on the right lane. Right?
It's like you're riding a bike to them, and you try to like turn left, and all the bicycles just keep going, and like, no.
So that is like, we felt like, okay, we want to work on esports performance. We want to build an esports performance playbook or program or whatever, what's in the name, we'll have to figure out the name, but we want to build and bring this knowledge to the general public. If I want to become a good gamer, maybe a professional esports athlete, what should I do? Where should I start? What should I do? What should I focus on? And also more personal, like I have issues with focus, I have issues with energy, I have mechanical issues in game, I have injuries on my wrists, I have a lot of issues with my wrist, I don't know. So like to be able to create this playbook that esport athletes, and I'm talking about athletes, can be someone who plays 1 hour of Call of Duty per week versus someone who plays 50 hours a week, that people can use to improve their skills and improve their cognitive performance, let's say. And we were very triggered because there's limited amount of information available. It's it's thin and it's spread, and we want to build this knowledge in the next years and share it with the industry. And the idea is that we want to surf on the trend of sports nutrition, which is growing at 10% every year for the past 3 or 4 years, offering specific sports nutrition for esports athletes, supporting them in this journey where you have these many pillars in sleep and training, but also nutrition, stretching. Like from all this knowledge that we will share, one pillar, nutrition, is what we will build a business upon. So that's how the idea started and why we decided to do this.
Okay, and so if you're listening right now and you heard that and you are totally not into gaming, really check it out, because I think, and this is my assumption, I'm saying that my assumptions are right. One person told me the assumption is the mother of all fuck ups, but I'm going to speak that a lot of people that are listening that are maybe casual gamers or not into gaming at all, or maybe played some Nintendo back in the day, but now are just focusing on their job and their family, or they see their kids doing it, but they don't understand. I think in gaming in general, it's like when I grew up, my parents let me game and I gamed a lot, but they saw it as something that didn't have any value. It was just a waste of time. You would grow unhealthy and it was bad for your eyes and all that stuff. And if you now look at the industry, and they're not just athletes, because they're streaming, they're also entertainers. The biggest entertainers momentarily on YouTube or on Twitch are gamers. And it's no longer looking at someone game. Look at Dr. Disrespect, because I play a lot of Call of Duty. Dr. Disrespect, that's media figure. It's a complete gaming show instead of playing. So if you're listening to this and you don't know, go check it out, or just watch some streams on Call of Duty, League of Legends, Fortnite, whatever it is, and you don't have to game, but you will understand what your children is doing, and that it might be a good investment for your kid just to do some gaming, because he might bring in 2 million euros in a while.
Yeah, he can discover certain skills, right? He can discover and build upon certain skills, I think, and that is what the shift that is happening now is esports becoming like more a professional sports or professional career option. In the end, you have communication, managing critique, managing loss, strategy. You have a lot of these skills where you have to learn about the game, and you have a lot of skills that are beneficial for you as a person or even as a child, if it is done in a responsible and healthy way, that you can benefit from as a person. And I think that that is the trend that is happening, that we're seeing, and the major shift will happen if our generation, your generation, my generation, if we have children and they start playing video games, we will say like, okay, you can go cycling, you can go running, you can play the violin, or you can play an esports game, right? And we will be able to know what is healthy and responsible, and know which skills can be learned there. And it will be on the same, that's my prediction at least, it will be on the same level as the other things that I mentioned. And then the real shift will happen, because it's going very fast for esports now. But if those generations that grew up with esports get children themselves, then it will further accelerate even I think to places where what we currently really can't envision or imagine what will happen there. That's my vision or my perspective on the topic.
I think it's going to go. It's going to be immense. I think it's going to be like one of the number one sports in a few years. What is the situation in Belgium? Like, are, because in Belgium always a small country, we don't have the big budgets. If you look at a tournament in the US, it goes for millions. These people that they make 3 millions in prize money. Where are we at right now? We're just scratching the surface and we have some gamers, or are we really stepping up our game?
Yeah, I think we're scratching the surface. I think that you have some Belgian esports athletes who go to international teams and are very successful. So that is, I think, like in the League of Legends, for example, on European level, I think there are 3 or 4 Belgians in the competition of the, I think, 30 participants or 40. So there is talent being created in Belgium, and they go abroad because there are no very big international Belgian teams. So I think Belgium at this stage is more like an academy country than it is a big competitor for the major leagues.
Like the
Now,
name academy country.
yeah, I call it like this because for me it's an academy country. It's clear that you have some talent here. It can be developed, but they go to other countries or other teams when they become very good. So that's one. Two, the thing is there's a lot of investments because a lot of football clubs, KV Mechelen, Anderlecht, Kortrijk, KA Gent, they are starting their own or started their own esports team. Why? Because football is about viewership. Esports is also about viewership, right? They want to expand their viewership base to younger audiences, and they want to be able to maybe benefit from the cross interaction between the offline football component and the online esports aspect. So more and more teams are being started. More and more corporates are starting to invest money in these teams, money in these events and competitions. So for League of Legends, for example, I think, not sure if it's next year, but the year after, there will be, you have the Belgian League, which is like the first class, like where the best teams play. And there will be, in the near future, a second class, let's say. So in other countries, it's like Germany, for example, you already have this. So there is development going on, but Belgium is like a needle in the haystack of the international esports competition, or let's say league. There is viewership here. I think you have like 1 million people that have viewed esports in the past years. So that's 10% or a little less of our population. So that's big, but I think we're at the early beginnings of Belgium as an esports country.
And really, yeah, would be cool. I'm not saying that should be the goal, but like you said, academy country, we could be or become like definitely with maybe the Calo support, be like the gaming monks in the future. That people know the tournaments might not be as big in Belgium, but if you want to be the ultimate gaming guru, you have to go to Belgium, get trained, and if you come back, you will be like this Usa Unagi.
Who knows? Yeah,
that would be really cool. Okay, we're almost over. Wrap it up. Just a small challenge from me, and this is not to offend you or but it is something that people ask me when you send me, like, this is not a podcast, that this is on my request, so I didn't ask you. If you're looking like, oh my god, now it's going to get really uncomfortable, don't worry. But I asked you, so this is not advertising, but I really love the fact that I could try the product. So if you're watching on YouTube right now, I'm holding the product. It looks beautiful, which is really important because, like I said, with any product or service, marketing is important. I like the design. Most of the time in gaming, it's really loud. It's a lot of colors, and it's like goes really in your face. You really chose the design phase. Looks really healthy, or it has a really nice, very professional. This is next level stuff. But the question I want to ask is, just in general, nutrition. The number one question I got when I was talking to people, like, I'm trying Calo, I'm using this for my gaming. I think it actually works. I'm not saying because I'm biased or it's like a effect, but I think it really, really works. Because, like you also said, it needs to be in combination with movement, sports. It's not just the magic.
Nope.
But does it really make, not just for esports, but does it really make a difference? And how does it make a difference? Because it was the question I got is, does this really work? The same question you get with fitness nutrition. People say, do you really need to take that nutrition, or is just all marketing and it doesn't really do anything? It's just a placebo. So where does this make a difference?
Yeah. So let's talk about first thing, like nutrition for human beings. Let's talk about that one first. In the end, we're getting more and more knowledgeable about how the human body works, and we're discovering more and more ingredients and compounds within the nature, so natural products that are exactly the things that our body needs to achieve a certain result. Like an easy example is protein, right? If you work out a lot, your muscles need protein to repair themselves and get stronger, right? So that's everybody knows that protein is good for you if you want to build muscle mass, right? So taking a protein shake or a protein bar or whatever, it makes total sense. I don't think there will be a lot of people who say that protein, good quality protein, is bad for you if you want to build muscle and get stronger. Even for someone who doesn't want to build muscle, protein can be good, but maybe not that volume. So if you train a lot, intaking extra protein is relevant, right? So we're discovering more and more about the human body and about certain ingredients that can have positive effects. So that's the first thing I want to say. The second thing is do the Callo products work? So we decided to start with supplements, which is for us the last thing that you actually do in your journey in improving yourself. For me, the first thing to do to improve yourself as a person or to improve your performance is behavior. What are the things that I do in my life to improve do I do more physical exercise? Do I do stretching? Do I eat healthy? It's having behaviors to improve your performance. The second step is nutrition. Like, what do I eat? And hydration, what I eat and drink on a daily basis to support the recovery of my body or the further growth of the things that I'm training. And the third one is supplementation. So supplementation is really, for me, at the end of the spectrum. It's the final percent. If you have someone who never rode a race bike and you put them on a race bike and you give him a certain supplement that can temporarily boost, it has maybe like a lot of carbohydrates, for example, that it can really boost his energy, he will not win a sprint against a world champion cycling, right? That will not happen. It is when you are doing well on all aspects, you can take supplements for that extra percentage, for that extra thing that can make a difference. Now, going into the supplements, one thing I want to mention, the fact that you take supplements, and I'm talking about healthy, grounded formulas with pharmaceutical grade ingredients, the fact that you take it, like the psychological effect that I am as a person take supplements, which means that I have the mentality to improve myself, can help you to put that behavior out there to also improve yourself. So the supplementation definitely has a psychological effect as well. Then the supplementation itself, we have two supplements, one for sleep and one for focus. I'll start with the sleep supplement first. So the sleep is the blue one and the focus is the green one. The sleep supplement, why did we decided to start with the sleep supplement? If people want to increase their focus and energy throughout the day, the first building block for a human being is sleep.
There you go.
Good sleep is the most important thing to be energetic and focused throughout the day. If you sleep bad, you can do a lot of things, but that is the core pillar stone of human performance and recovery. Scientifically proven many times, by the way. So we decided to do something that can help you that can induce your sleep more easily and that can improve the quality of your sleep. So not going into much technical details, we have a micro dose of melatonin. Melatonin is the product in your body that starts to induce that you start getting sleepy. There are many other things you can do to stimulate your melatonin production. For example, taking a very hot shower in the evening, an hour before you go to bed. Then your body will try to cool off itself, and cooling off yourself generates melatonin, starts the melatonin production. So there are a lot of things you can do to stimulate melatonin production, but the micro dose that we have in Q Sleep can help you to give this push to falling asleep faster where you could otherwise have problems starting to fall asleep faster. But next to melatonin, we have some ingredients that help you relax, like valerian, for example, lavendel, You probably heard of lavender oils, etc., and the scent of lavender that relaxes your body. So there are several ingredients in there that relax your body, so that will help you to fall asleep faster and have a deeper and more qualitative sleep. So every ingredient in Q Sleep is scientifically backed by research. So there has been research with focus with different groups, with placebo, non-yes, different dosages. So every ingredient in there has a scientific background in helping you to relax and sleep better and have a more higher quality level of sleep. And we only use pharmaceutical grade ingredients. And that's also an important one because you can put a lot of shit in supplements. That's not difficult to put shit ingredients in supplements. Like, for example, ginseng, which I'll talk about later, and which is in our focus products. You have like 150 or more variants of ginseng with different strengths and different quality levels. But in the end, you only have to say that you have ginseng, right? So, but we chose to be a very qualitative brand. So we take high quality ingredients. That's for Q Sleep. Q Focus is moving on the trend of ingredients that only popped up for the past 5 years or gained popularity that work on your cognitive function, on your cognitive performance. What does that mean? Because what the fuck is cognitive performance, right? It can do a lot of things. Like it's called nootropics. So they work on how your brain or how efficient that your brain works. Some examples. Throughout the day, if your neurons communicate with each other, which they constantly do, they build an excess of protein clusters. And during the night, there's like a garbage collection system in your brain that takes away these protein clusters because they clutter the communication flow between your neurons, right? And nootropics can help to reduce the amount of protein clusters generated in your brain. So there's a long-term effect of taking qualitative nootropic products. A second thing is, for example, the mitochondria in your brain. Those are the energy cells in your brain. And nootropics can stimulate the production of your mitochondria. So increasing the energy level of your brain, making you able to make faster and better decisions, right? So we have some nootropics in our Q Focus products, like Bacopa monnieri, probably being the most popular and known one. So they have a lot of scientific background on why Bacopa monnieri works for improving your cognitive performance. But we also have ginseng, high quality ginseng, which gives a small boost of energy. Not as much as caffeine does, but gives more like a constant additional flow as energy. But we also have magnesium, for example, which calms you down a little bit. And that's the effect you want to create: maximum alertness, but also maximum calmness. You don't want to be this alert that you're in panic mode and don't have yourself under control. You want to be super alert, but also super calm. So we put a mix of several ingredients together with a professor of the University of Leuven, who has more than 20 years of experience with building and creating formulas for food supplements. We built a formula based on scientific results with high quality, pharmaceutical grade quality ingredients that actually work. Again, will it make you the best gamer in the world if you take 2 Q Focus pills? It will not. But it can give you this temporary like extra or boost that can help you to generate more focus. And the proof is in the pudding, right? I think we have a few, I think 300 or 350 customers now who tried our Q Focus products. Of course, we ourselves love the product. We use it every day. But we're starting to get a lot of feedback that people really like the product and they really feel like that it works. That it's people who have like the stick when they keep on moving their foot when they're playing video games, they don't move their foot anymore. You have people who feel like I can respond quicker to the impulses that I get from the game. So we're very happy with our product. It actually works, but it's not an NZT pill like in the movie Limitless, where if you take it, you're suddenly the best day trader in the world, and I don't know what, right? So
Could have made
it's
$1
still
billion by now if that was the case.
yeah, it still is a food supplement, a legal, also government approved food supplement that definitely has its effect.
I'll take one right now just to see right here. Take
yeah,
it.
it will it will not work within 10 seconds, right?
I know,
It
I
needs
know.
30 minutes.
For the show that it is really
Yeah,
do a little test. But now I know. But that's the thing. This is an important one. It's not the magic pill that I will become like high on cocaine here and be like, let's do this. But now currently I feel my protein clusters being taken away, and I feel the. But that's what it is, and it really convinced me. Like I didn't understand all the words that you said, and probably also the people now, but I do believe, and I think the beauty of the product in general is your philosophy behind it. Because if you're a gamer, let's say if I was gaming back in the day a lot, I didn't eat very healthy. It was sodas, it was
Mhm.
it was energy drinks, a lot of sugar. Just keep going, play with the boys. Let's do this, and you don't even realize what you're putting in your body, and you're not really doing great. But if you also the philosophy, not just have the product, but realize as a gamer, hey, but there's more. There's sleep, there's exercise, there's the
Mhm.
supplement that give me the extra edge. If you can do the whole performance, like you said, well, then you're really making a difference as a brand, and that's what I like about the philosophy of Calo.
Yeah, that's definitely our ambition to empower every esport athlete to reach their full potential, and we support it by relevant and healthy nutritional products, but also by offering or building together with the scene an esports performance playbook or system that they can utilize to maximize their performance.
All right, cool. So we've talked about, because we're coming to the end of the episode, already really thank you for the time that you're making. We talked about marriage, which is very similar to having founders in your company. We talked about your entrepreneurial journey and about the things, and I really loved. You can say, yeah, Marnick, you say that in every episode, but I really like the insight, and hope the people that are listening have the same feeling of the value you delivered. You gave so many answers about what it is to be an entrepreneur, how to work with your founders, how to come up with the right idea, whatever that is, and how you can take the steps through the process instead of just a victory. We talked a bit about the gaming. Of course, we can do a whole episode just about esports and gaming, but for the people that are not into gaming, it will be mumbo jumbo. But definitely check out the Calo brand, calo.com, all the information. Check out the products. Even I know you're targeting gaming, but also for entrepreneurs, the sleep, the performance, the way an athlete works. Look at the best entrepreneurs, the top entrepreneurs. They're also very, very high athletes performing. Ironmans, they're doing the cycling, the ultra running, so it all links together. The last question I want to ask you, and we talked about it before we started this episode, is what's next for you? Of course, you're going to continue the business with Calo and work together, Honey Badger Ventures, and probably some also stuff. But you talked about, and let me know if you don't want to talk about this, but what that you said you're going to do some sort of 365 days challenge built around performance. What's that about?
Yeah, so the proof is always the pudding, and you have to, like, what you promote, you also have to do it yourself, right? So I'm a strong believer in this, and I've been experimenting a lot with a lot of things in the past 4 to 5 years to improve my performance. I'm reading and talking to a lot of international experts in several domains now, and doing it right now in the past months. And the goal that I set for myself, and I want to bundle this knowledge and share it with everybody who is interested in improving their performance or enabling to do high performance in a more cognitive environment, like an esports athlete, but it can also be like an entrepreneur or like a digital go-getter, whatever. And what I will do in 2021, or what I will try to do, is to share a tip on high performance every single day. So this means that I will share 365 tips on performance, and I will group them per topic every month. So every month of 2021, I will tackle a different topic, ranging from sleep, nutrition, stretching and ergonomics, mental well-being or mental balance. So I'll talk about a lot of these topics, high-level topics. So I will spend time during that month to talk a lot about those topics, do a podcast about those topics, to share articles about those topics, but also every day share one actionable tip, something you can do, what you could actually do, that you don't have to spend months of time, something that you can start doing that day or can start experimenting with that day. so that you have 365 tips on improving your performance as an esports athlete or someone who is a high performer in a digital space. So that's what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna further build upon my performance coaching career in that sense, and try to really work with scientifically backed or proven tips that everyone can use to improve their performance. That's my goal.
And if you're going to start 2021, where can people find you or connect with you if they want to have the tips, if they want to hear about what's the best way to reach out to you?
Yeah, I think the best two channels are my Instagram at Niels Peetermans, Peetermans with a double E. Same goes for Twitter. I'll also be sharing it on Twitter at Niels Peetermans. And if you're really interested, I'm going to make a Facebook group, which is not live now. I'm not sure what the name will be, something around performance in esports. It will be a closed group, and I will invite people can join the group if they're interested in this topic. And this is really a place where people can share with each other articles or experiments that they tried. I really want to try to create a community of people who are working on themselves and on discovering new trends and topics and doing new experiments together. So if you're interested, follow me on Instagram or Twitter, and I'll share the group that I'm building very soon.
All right, nice. I'll also put everything in the description. So if you forgot, just click it in the links below on YouTube, on Spotify, or wherever you're listening. Great. Final thought, Niels. We talked about so much stuff. If you want to give a final thought, a Steve Jobs moment to the people listening who are young and still in school, or are experienced entrepreneurs, or just thinking about maybe should I start my own business, what is your number one takeaway that they should hear before we wrap this up?
The quote I believe in the most is like that every big achievement or improvement is the result of a multitude of small actions. I don't believe in overnight success. It exists, but it happens purely by luck, or mainly luck driven. Entrepreneurship is for a larger part also luck, but you can enable this luck, and it happens by doing small things every little day. You just have to just do it, just start doing things, doing small things, build further upon these things. And after a certain amount of time, you'll realize like, whoa, I really, really did something cool here. But it was the multitude of many, many small things. So don't be afraid to do small things in order to achieve a big result.
Nice. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that, for the time, for everything you shared. And hopefully then everything that we discussed this podcast episode can be a small step for, even if it's one person listening right now, can be a small step towards running their own business, improving their business, or maybe optimizing the communication with their co-founders. Niels, thank you very much. Connect with him. I'll put the links in the description. Like I said, thank you so much for your time. And ladies and gentlemen, Stand Up Talk.
Are you listening? Damn.